What's going on, everybody? It's Endless One Up. You know what time it is. It's time to find out what's on deck. I played a little bit of this on one of my live streams. It's called The Sinking City. This is like an HP Lovecraft game. So if you're into that kind of stuff, you'd probably like this. It's pretty well polished. Like, I played it for a few minutes. It runs pretty well. We're going to try to get it to run the best we can. We're going to check it out in a few different resolutions. We're going to start out the default Steam Deck resolution, and we'll bump it up. We'll probably go to like 1080. We'll probably try, 1440, and maybe we'll even go to 4K. We'll have to wait and see. But let's go ahead and bring it up, dock it, put it on the big board, all that good stuff. Let's get to it. All right, we're on the big board here. We're going to go ahead and launch the game up. Oh, before we do that, let's see if it's Steam Deck verified. I see a green check mark. Looks like we are good to go if I could actually navigate that damn button. Okay, we got it. It's green. It's good. Let's get it going. Okay, we're in the game now. Let's go down to settings, go to the video options. We're going to start at the 720 resolution. VSync is off. Everything is set to high. We're going to leave everything on high for now. We're going to go ahead and exit out of this. Let's go ahead and bring up the telemetry before we get into the game. We're going to uncap the frame rate. And then we're going to go and turn the telemetry on here. Make sure none of this other stuff is turned on. Scale filtering is off. Okay. We're good to go. We're going to go ahead and continue it. This is like right in the beginning of the game. So let's go ahead and let's check it out. The darkness is kind of a problem in this game, and we might have to change that. I might have to turn up the brightness. We'll have to wait and see. Looks like we're getting 45 to 55 frames per second, depending on what we're looking at. This is 720p resolution. We don't have FSR turned on or anything like that. We could try to turn that on the device, but I'm going to avoid that for now. I think it adds a lot to the videos. If you are interested in that, you can find that under this menu here, and that's the scale filtering. You can just turn that on to FSR, and then that will make the Steam Deck try to turn on FSR. It doesn't always seem to change any result. It's hit or miss. It depends on if the game's supporting of it. But let's go ahead and just run around for a second. Let's check out the fire. All right, this is the 720p resolution. Just remember, we're getting between 50 and 45 frames per second. All right, let's go ahead and change the resolution now. Let's see if we can get it close to 60 frames per second, actually. All right, let's change some of the settings and see if we can get it close to 60 frames per second here. So we'll go over to options, settings, video, and then we'll turn all this stuff down to medium just to see. This is a good baseline. Let's make sure I'm getting me off the screen. All right, so there's no special button to hit to save it. That's just, you just select it and off it goes. All right. So now we're sitting at 60 frames per second. This is pretty good though. If you wanted to play the game at 60 frames per second, at a solid 60 frames per second, this seems like the way to do it. Set everything to medium and use the 720p resolution. But let's see what we can get out of it if we bump up the resolution here. We're going to go ahead and exit out of the game. Now that we're out of the game, go over to the gear icon. We're going to come down to the properties. We're going to hit the button on general, go down to game resolution. We're going to change it to 1920 by 1080 and give that a go. Go ahead and jump back there. Go ahead and launch back into the game. Okay, we're back in the game here. Let's go to the settings. Go down to the video. Let's change this to 1920 by 1080. We're going to put everything back on high because we want to see what the baseline is on this resolution on high settings. Go back here. Go continue the game. So with the 720 resolution, we were getting between 45 and 55 frames per second in high settings. So let's see what the 1920 by 1080 resolution gives us in high settings. If they're very similar, I bet you we could probably bump it up and not have a lot of issues. Okay, we got like a 10 frame. Ooh, it was a little worse than that. We got like a 15 frame hit from doing that. I think this is still probably playable, so you could probably play the game at 1080p on high settings. And I think you'd still be okay. We're getting 30 frames per second roughly, and that seems manageable, and it looks fairly nice. Let's go ahead and check out what it looks like on medium settings. And if I get to 60 frames per second, I'm pretty much going to stop there. I'm not going to keep trying to change and adjust the settings. It makes for a long video, and this is really just to give everybody a baseline of what the game is capable of and what the Steam Deck is capable of. So going to medium settings at 1080p, we're getting between 55 and 60 frames per second. That jumped down to 45 depending on what I'm viewing. This is totally playable too. Let's do one more thing here since we're not getting a solid 60 frames per second. We're going to go back down to the settings. We're going to go in here and we're going to lower all this. Put it on low. We got to change that one from ultra to low. Okay, so we got to leave that one on medium, I guess. And anti-aliasing, I'm going to leave that on medium as well. I'd rather have it on than off. So there you go. We got low, medium, medium, low, 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 low. Okay, don't jump back out of there. Let's see if we can get a solid 60 frames per second now. All right, we had 56, 54, 55. It looks like we're going to do kind of a jumpy. This looks to be fairly decent. What is that little creature? That is a scary looking rat. But we're getting between 50 to 60 frames per second. I saw it jump down to 45 at one point, 43 right there, depending on what I'm looking at, or the draw distance maybe. But yeah, I mean, this is, if you wanted 1080p in a true 60 frames per second, you might want to turn everything on low, and you might even want to turn off some of those other things. All right, we're in the game. Let's go ahead and go to the settings, go to the video, bump that up to the 1440 resolution. Okay. Put that on full screen. VSync is off. We're going to go ahead and put everything back on to high. All right. Everything is on high. VSync is off. We're on full screen. The resolution is 1440p. Go ahead and jump back out of that. Jump out of there. Going to hit continue. Okay, we're sitting in the game now at 1440p. The frame rate has taken a hit. I can see some, like, I almost want to call it video stuttering with the rain hitting the ground. So we're getting like roughly 19 to 20 frames per second. That is not something I'd want to play the game like this. So 1440p on high settings, pretty much a no-go. Let's go ahead and bump everything down. I think we're going to skip the medium settings because we're only getting 20 frames per second. So that would probably take it to maybe 30, maybe. But let's go ahead and just go straight down to low. Turn that on medium. Shadows medium. Then we'll put all these on low. All right. So everything's on low now. We pretty much skipped medium. But that's okay. We're at 1440p. Everything's on low except for anti-aliasing and shadows because that's as low as they go. Let's give it a shot. I mean, the game looks decent. I would still play this game just like this. I don't see any problem. The colors are very vibrant. This gives me that kind of PS4, PS3 days vibe, but totally playable like this. And we're getting 30 frames per second to 45 frames per second, depending on what we're viewing at the time. It just went up to 50 there when I was looking towards the ground. So yeah, that's a nice dead shark. Meow. Jaws. He didn't, I guess they got a bigger boat. I don't know. So that's on low settings on 1440p. Let's take this to 4K. Let's do it. Go over to the gear icon. Go to the properties. We're going to go to general, down to here. Bump it up to 4K. This is really just UHD, so it's not really 4K. It's not. There's the difference, but it's what they call 4K, but it's just UHD. So let's check out the UHD. All right. Ultra high definition. Okay, we're in the game now. Let's go to the video resolution and change that. Bump it up to UHD. Okay. And we're going to leave everything on low out the gate because I don't have high expectations. So, first go around at 4K. All the settings are pretty much the lowest they can be. Let's see what happens. Are we going to need a bigger boat? I don't know. Stop saying that. All right, we're in the game now. We got 4K resolution, roughly UHD. So this is ultra high definition, what people like to call 4K, but I'm going to tell you right now. On my video editing application, this resolution is listed as UHD. 4K is a separate resolution. And since the video application pretty much sets that stuff with TV manufacturers, I'm going to trust that over this. Okay, would you play this? Would I play this in 4K? I don't know. I don't think I would. I think this is kind of poopy. We're getting almost 30 frames per second. I mean, it's 30 right now when I look off into the nothingness. But if I turn around and look at things, it's like, oh, here you can get 25 frames per second, 26 frames per second. I mean, I guess this is playable. I mean, let's turn off a couple of things and just see what happens. Because we've never turned off anti-aliasing. Let's just turn that off. Shadows we can't lower, but let's just give this a go once. I mean, we're in 4K. Do we really need anti-aliasing on at that point? That just gets rid of jagged edges. If there's no edges to be jaggy. I'm just being silly. Why did the frame rate go down? That's too bad. We were doing better with anti-aliasing on. I guess it's about the same. It's going between 21 and 30 frames per second. It seems a little bit less stable now, though. That doesn't make sense. Let's go into the settings. Change one last thing. Let's just put this on ultra anti-aliasing and jump back out. Okay, now that took a frame hit. I was like, I saw it for a split second jump to 36, and I was like, wait a second, you silly goose. Well, there you go. 4K playable? Not so much. What do you think? Let me know down in the comments. Let's bring me back up to the big board. So, that's an interesting game. It's one of those games that very atmospheric, has that kind of dreary vibe. It's H.P. Lovecraft. What do you expect? But if you're into this kind of stuff, check this game out. It plays pretty well on the deck in the lower resolutions, like 720p, which is the default. Or if you wanted to sit at like 1080p, that was working pretty well. Heck, I could even play this at 1440p and not really have an issue. But 4K, I wasn't really into it. But let me know. What'd you think? Thanks a lot for watching, everybody. If you're new, hit that bell icon so you can be notified on Steam Deck videos that you don't even subscribe to. But then that leads us to the next part. You should subscribe, because then it goes along with the bell, So you subscribed, and then you got the bell, and it goes ding-a-ling-a-ling, and then you know. Hey, thanks a lot for watching. See you down in the comments. Peace.